The 2024 Colorado ballot measure, Amendment 80, Constitutional Right to School Choice, is a pressing issue coming up. Voters must understand the tricky language and decipher what the ballot would actually change. This ballot proposes that every parent should have the right to choose what school their child attends. This ballot will be defining what school choice means and where the funding goes. If you care about the high quality of education in your neighborhood, this ballot is something that should be important to you.
Voting yes on Amendment 80 is about giving parents more control over their children's education by allowing them to choose the best option, whether it's a public school, private school, charter school, or homeschooling. Right now, most education funding stays with public schools, but this amendment would change that so that some of the money follows the student to whatever type of school they attend. According to coloradopolitics.com, supporters believe that this gives families more flexibility and ensures every child has an equal shot at quality education, no matter where they live or what kind of school they choose. If you think parents should have the power to direct their child's education and that kids should have more opportunities beyond just their neighborhood public school, a yes vote supports that.
Voting no on ballot 80 would keep the right to school choice as it is now, in which parents are already allowed the choice of where to send their children. It would keep the system as is. According to the Colorado Fiscal Institute, this is a bit of a tricky one because the wording is aimed towards school choice, but the ballot itself is about funding. The open-ended language, such as future innovations in education, a quote from the Colorado Blue Book, leaves the door wide open for future unforeseeable court cases. In Ballot 80, there are hidden implications that could present the opportunity for private schools to funnel away funding from public schools, and Colorado's public school rank is already in the bottom third of states nationwide. According to the Colorado General Assembly, there is already a constitutional right for students to have the right to school choice, but this ballot is an amendment that broadens this to involve private schools as well. This makes it very open-ended.
Amendment 80 proposes a change in how school funding is allocated by allowing a portion of the money to follow students to the school of their choice, whether that's public, private, charter, or homeschool. Currently, public schools receive the most of the state's education funding. Proponents argue that encouraging competition among schools, this system could drive improvements across the board, ultimately benefiting all students, according to the Colorado Sun. Critics, however, warn that redirecting funds from public schools will have a negative impact, especially on schools in lower income and rural areas that are already struggling with limited resources. Evidence from states like Arizona and Florida suggests that similar voucher-like systems have led to budget shortfalls, making it harder for public schools to operate effectively. This is according to sites such as Colorado Fiscal Institute and Colorado Times Recorder.
Here's a list of organizations that support Ballot 80. Feel free to pause the video and read through it. If you notice, most of these supporters tend to be private institutions. This is all according to Ballotpedia. Here's a list of organizations that oppose Ballot 80. Feel free to pause the video and read through the list.
So let's say you live in a lower income area. The money that would typically fund your public school districts could now be split with private institutions. This could result in less opportunities and materials for those in public schools. Overall, the tricky language within this ballot is something that needs to be carefully examined before casting your ballot. Know the difference between what is currently stated in the law and what would change if approved. As a constitutional amendment, it would take 55% of the vote to pass. So remember, every vote counts, including yours.
So make an informed vote.